What do you think you're doing in my restaurant? Michael's voice cut through the room like a knife, his words dripping with disdain. Emma's hands froze mid-motion, the tray of drinks hovering just above the table. The entire room went quiet. She could feel every pair of eyes on her. Michael, the billionaire, sitting there in his tailored suit, looked down at her with a smirk. I told you, bring me what I ordered, not this garbage. His voice was cold, dismissive, as if she was nothing more than an inconvenience. The guests around the table exchanged uncomfortable glances. Emma's heart raced, but she didn't flinch. She set the tray down slowly, taking a deep breath. This was it. The moment everything would change. Emma Williams had worked at the high-end restaurant for over a year, and still, every day felt like a reminder of where she came from. A black woman in a world dominated by the wealthy, she knew her place. At least, that's what they all made her believe. She served, she cleaned, she kept her head down, and she never dared to challenge the status quo. But today, something inside her shifted. The insult from Michael hit harder than it should have, not because of the words, but because of the reminder it gave her about the world she was stuck in. She had worked her way up from nothing, constantly told she wasn't good enough, constantly told to stay in her lane. But Emma wasn't just any woman. She had secrets, a degree in business, a passion for cooking that rivaled the top chefs in the city, and a determination to prove that no one, not even the richest man in the room, could keep her down. As she moved to the back to grab the next round of orders, her heart was racing. But there was something else, something fierce. Emma wasn't going to let this go. Not this time. The moment Emma stepped back into the main dining area, Michael's voice rang out again, sharp and cutting. Where's my food, lady? Are you too busy to do your job? He didn't even look up from his phone, the arrogance in his tone impossible to miss. The table around him fell into a dead silence, the other diners frozen in place, some looking away, others exchanging uncomfortable glances. Emma's hands tightened around the edge of the tray she was carrying, but she didn't speak. She could feel the heat rising in her chest, but she wasn't about to let him see how much his words had affected her. She set the drinks down and turned to walk away, but Michael wasn't done. Do you even understand what I'm saying? He sneered, loud enough for everyone to hear. Or are you just here for the tips? The laughter from his friends at the table felt like daggers, each chuckle making Emma's stomach turn. She forced herself to stay calm, but inside, she was seething. The humiliation wasn't just coming from Michael, it was coming from the entire room. It was as if they were all in on the joke. But Emma wasn't laughing. Emma's heart pounded as she turned to walk back into the kitchen. The air around her felt thick, every step heavier than the last. But before she could make it out of the dining room, Michael's voice cut through the tense silence again. Hey, you forgot my wine, he snapped. A chill ran down Emma's spine, but she refused to let him see how his words stung. She wasn't going to let this man break her. She took a deep breath and walked back to his table, the tray now feeling like a burden. The room felt smaller, every eye on her. As she reached the table, Michael didn't even look up, his fingers still scrolling through his phone. You know, if you can't do something as simple as bringing me my wine, maybe you should find a new job, he muttered without looking at her. His words landed with a cruel weight, the sting of disrespect sinking deep. The laughter from his friends at the table echoed in her ears, adding to the pressure building inside her chest. She set the wine bottle down with a slight tremble in her hand, but before she could turn away, one of Michael's friends, another man in a suit, spoke up. Maybe she's too stupid to know what she's doing. Emma froze. The insult wasn't just aimed at her, it was the final straw. She could feel her entire body tense, her pulse racing. She had been pushed too far. Emma stood there, her back straight, her eyes locked onto Michael as the words hung in the air. Her hands were shaking slightly, but she didn't move, didn't look away. The tension in the room thickened, the silence almost deafening. Michael, still not looking at her, smirked. But then, something changed. His eyes flicked to her face, then quickly down to the wine bottle in front of him. For a split second, the confident arrogance in his expression faltered. He hesitated, his hand hovering over the glass, unsure. Are you sure you want to do that? Emma asked quietly, her voice calm but strong. The room felt even quieter, the guests waiting to see what would happen next. Michael's fingers twitched, as if he was about to grab the glass but stopped, looking at her with a new kind of uncertainty. For the first time, He wasn't in control. The silence in the room grew heavier, the tension stretching thinner with every passing second. Michael finally lifted his gaze to Emma, his eyes narrowing, as if he were trying to read something hidden behind her calm exterior. Emma stood still, her hands now steady at her sides, but her pulse was racing. She could feel the weight of everyone's stares, the expectation of what would happen next. Michael cleared his throat, then broke the silence with a half-hearted chuckle, trying to regain control. "You think you can just talk to me like that?" he scoffed. But Emma didn't flinch. She simply met his eyes. "You have no idea who I am, do you?" she said, her voice low but firm. Michael's smirk faltered for a moment, and he shifted uncomfortably in his seat. His eyes flicked to his friends, who seemed to sense the shift in the air. There was a quiet buzz among the guests, whispers of uncertainty that started to spread through the room. Emma's words hung in the air, heavy with a truth he hadn't expected. Michael opened his mouth to say something, but no words came. The mistake he'd made was starting to dawn on him. Emma wasn't just another waitress. She wasn't just some servant he could dismiss. He had no idea who he had been speaking to. His face turned pale as the realization began to settle in. "I think it's time you know," Emma said softly, her lips curling into a small but confident smile. Emma reached into her pocket, the movement smooth and deliberate, as the room held its breath. She pulled out a small badge and placed it on the table in front of Michael. It gleamed under the restaurant's dim lighting. Michael's eyes widened as he stared at it, the realization crashing down on him like a wave. The badge read, "Chief Advisor, Williams Culinary Enterprises." Emma's calm smile never wavered as she met his shocked gaze. "I think you'll find my resume a bit more impressive than what you assumed," she said, her voice steady but carrying a hint of something sharper now. The silence was deafening as Michael slowly backed away, his face drained of color. The smug confidence that had defined him for so long seemed to crumble. The guests who had been silently observing the scene now shifted uncomfortably, their murmurs growing louder. Emma had been playing a long game, one that Michael had failed to notice. The tables had turned. In a single, quiet moment, the power had shifted, and Michael knew it. He wasn't the one in control anymore. Michael's face reddened as the weight of his arrogance came crashing down. The realization hit him hard, as the room's murmurs intensified. His friends exchanged uncomfortable glances, but none of them dared to speak. Emma remained composed, standing tall, her calmness now a stark contrast to the chaos Michael had caused. The moment had shifted, and Michael's power had evaporated in an instant. As he tried to gather himself, Emma turned to leave without a word, her steps deliberate and steady. She had done more than just prove a point. She had reminded everyone in that room that respect couldn't be bought, only earned. And Michael, for all his wealth, had just learned that lesson the hard way.